Over 14 months, one woman moved more money than the entire yearly economy of some countries. Her name is Taylor Swift. The tour was called the Eras Tour, and this video isn't about her, it's about her money. Because everyone complained about ticket prices, everyone talked about the outfits, everyone argued about the set list, but almost nobody asked the real question: who actually collects this money? The answer is way more complicated than you'd think. The average ticket price through Ticketmaster was $254. Sounds high, right? But on the resale market, that same ticket went for thousands. In some cities, tens of thousands of dollars. That wasn't a coincidence. The tour team knew demand would massively outstrip supply, so they deliberately kept the face value price low. Why? Because the real profit was never at the box office. The real profit was in everything people spent after buying that ticket. Think about it. A fan who paid $250 for a ticket first has to book a plane ticket to use it, then a hotel room, then, on show day, food, cab rides, drinks with friends. And before they've even walked through the doors, they're already paying for a themed t-shirt or a light-up bracelet at the merch table. So, the low ticket price was actually a trap. Not a malicious one, but a smart one. It pulled people in and let the real spending happen afterward. The average fan at a show spent $40 just on t-shirts, posters, or bracelets. In just the first 60 shows alone, that added up to over $240 million. But here's the strange part. That number is still a small piece of the tour's real scale. The North American leg alone generated $2.2 billion in ticket revenue. And that's just tickets. Merch, the movie, and album sales are separate. Then came the Eras Tour concert film. It hit theaters and opened up an entirely separate revenue stream. So a fan could contribute to this economy just by going to the movies without ever attending a single show. The ticket looked cheap, but fans were already paying through 4 different doors, and most of the time, they didn't even notice. Now here's the really interesting part. Just 2 shows in Denver added $140 million to Colorado's economy. 6 shows in Los Angeles created 3,300 jobs and left a $320 million economic impact. In Cincinnati, a single show's impact reached $48 million. The opening night in Glendale, Arizona generated more local revenue than the Super Bowl that had been played in that same stadium just months earlier. Read that again. One concert outperformed the Super Bowl. Hotel occupancy spiked, restaurants hit Super Bowl weekend levels, and the US Federal Reserve even noted in an official report that Philadelphia had its strongest month of hotel revenue since the start of the pandemic. Cities didn't let the moment pass. Minneapolis temporarily rebranded itself Swiftieapolis. Santa Clara made Swift the city's honorary mayor. One state governor even renamed the state sandwich in her honor. So this stopped being just a concert. Cities turned it into a marketing opportunity, a tourism campaign, and that's exactly where the real question shows up. Cities won, hotels won, restaurants won, airlines won. But the real question at the center of it all is, who's running the tour, who's organizing it, and who ends up with the biggest slice of the profit? On most major tours, the artist partners with a production company and shares the bulk of the revenue with them, sometimes as much as 80%. Management, staging, security, logistics, it all runs through that partnership. What made Swift's case different is that she built this tour on her own terms. She operated through her own production setup, stayed less dependent on outside investors, and that let her keep a far bigger share of the profits for herself. So all those stage lights, the costumes, the 3-hour show, that was actually the visible result of an invisible business model. An artist became both the star and the boss of her own tour. For comparison, around the same time, another massive tour was happening, Beyoncé's Renaissance Tour. That one also generated billions in economic impact. But what analysts pointed to was this. In scale, the Eras Tour surpassed U2's tour, the previous record holder, and did it within its very first year. So this isn't really a story about one artist. It's a story about a new model, one where an artist depends less on traditional touring companies and directly controls her own economic power. Altogether, the contribution to the US economy topped $5 billion. Some analyses, factoring in indirect spending, put that number as high as $10 billion. And once the tour covered 19 countries, the global economic impact crossed $9 billion. The biggest contributions came from the United States and the United Kingdom. After the UK came Australia, and after that, you might be surprised to hear, Japan. For comparison, that's more than the annual national income of some smaller countries. But the real story isn't in the number. The real story is this. An artist took a system traditionally controlled by big corporations and took control of it herself. Everyone thought the tickets were expensive. Almost nobody asked about the actual pricing strategy. Everyone saw the cities winning. Almost nobody asked who was really winning. And maybe that's the real lesson. Sometimes the biggest economic story isn't on the stage. It's hiding in the fine print of the contract. If watching this made you think, wow, I never thought about it that way, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.